This is the, the conservation district, and we have quite a full agenda, I think. So we will start with the program.
Morning.
Me is line. I'm sorry, no lane. Church that lets you know in the home.
All right, yeah, so I think we have Peter here representing the applicant. And Peter, do you want to talk about what's happened since we last saw you?
Yes, I can talk about it. So since the last meeting, we received a DEP number. And the only revision to the plan was adding the depression at the foundation drain with some plants. And those were added per your request since the last meeting.
Let's, do you want to pull it up or shall I? I can pull it up.
Yeah, can you pull it up? I don't have the plan with me.
Okay.
Peter, what was the DEP number? Please.
I don't know the DEP number.
Okay.
It's spelled to 311.
Good time.
It's back.
I'm sure I'll figure it out.
Just put in the old one. And
The plans were for a rain garden?
Yes,
Okay.
yep. I added the rain guarding at the depression of the foundation drain, which is to the back right of the proposed house.
right, like right in here.
That is it. Yep, right there. It's still outside of the 30-foot no disturb. It's within the 30, between the 30 and the 50.
Yeah.
What plants did you put in there, Pete?
I want to say some blueberry and some high brush blueberry and some winterberry.
I was curious about your opinion of the DEP comments in terms of test pits being required for a rain garden.
I mean, this really isn't a rain garden. It's basically you wanted because it was so close to the 30-foot no disturb. I really don't think there's going to be much water going into that depression because it is a walkout. The grade in the front, is basically we're filling up. So the foundation's really not going to be in groundwater. So you might get some of the runoff coming down from the backyard. That's probably going to go into that depression more than any groundwater coming through the foundation drain.
Yeah, and the roof gutters, the gutters are just going, they would probably go into that foundation.
Yeah,
drain.
yes, correct. Yeah, that's the only other thing that would be the roof, and that it is kind of a small footprint. It's 50 by 42. I mean, I know what groundwater is. I've done testing. I've done testing in the septic, which is pretty close, and it was all good material, and we didn't hit any groundwater for the septic systems.
What is the purpose of that depression? What's it catching?
It's catching roof runoff and some of the foundation groundwater. Mary had a concern because the foundation drain was close to the 30-foot no disturb. So she asked if I could do a depression with some, like a rain garden with some plants. So that's what I proposed.
Any other questions, Mary?
Just add the numbers 836.
Okay.
DP
Oh, either, yeah.
836.
Okay.
Any questions from the commission? Or from the abutters? Or the audience?
So how does rainwater or whatever get into that? Is it everything sloped towards that?
So the, I can, so the roof has gutters, which would have downspouts, and then the downspouts will be connected and it will discharge into the depression. And then the foundation, they usually put a 4-inch pipe around the foundation, and if any groundwater, which I don't think there's going to be any groundwater, but code is that you need a foundation drain. So the foundation drain will intercept any groundwater and will discharge into that small little depression. And then if that does overflow, it would go towards the wetlands. But I don't see, the material out there is an A soil. I got less than 2-minute perk rates for the septic system, so I don't see that depression holding a lot of water.
So it would go, you said it would go towards the wetlands?
Correct. That's the way the topography goes. It's going towards going toward the, was it north, south? It's going towards the east.
On the plan to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, to the right. It's going down the hill towards where it says WFA6, WFA5. It's going to go that way.
Peter, do you specify anything about the soil in the rain
I don't
garden?
specify. No, I was just specifying lumen seed. That was it. I wasn't getting into, constructing a rain garden, because then the homeowner would have to maintain that, and I don't feel that a homeowner would maintain the rain garden, like removing the mulch and replenishing it every 3 years. I don't see, that's why I just kind of did like a 6-inch loom, and then adding those plants within that depression area.
So that would flow away from the property line there?
Correct. It'll go directly towards the wetlands, which is directly to the right.
Do you consider a friendly suggestion, maybe go to a foot loam instead of 6 inches?
Go to what? How thick?
1 foot.
1 foot? Yeah, I could propose that. That's fine.
Here it is, I found mine, and stone rather than the mulch.
Yeah, but this is not a rain garden. He's making it clear it's not a rain garden.
It's a depression.
Right, it's a depression, then he put some plants.
It's kind of the definition.
It's not a rain garden, because that would be a whole different set of things.
Is that an existing depression or something they're gonna construct?
They're gonna construct. Yeah, I mean, originally the foundation drain was just kind of heading straight towards the wetland, 30 foot, just a pipe. So we thought this was
So this is trying to sort of
kind of dissipate it a
dissipate the
little
flow.
bit, catch it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, so the purpose of the depression is to get the water to infiltrate before it gets to the wetland?
Right.
Okay,
It's not-
and it'll help, it'll prevent stuff from getting into the wetland.
Right.
Bad stuff.
Right.
Which, well, the runoff is clean. It's coming from the roof, so there's really, the runoff would be clean. It's either groundwater or rainwater coming off a roof. There is nothing that's going to be in the water that's going into that depression.
How do you determine the size of that? Well, what is the size of that depression?
It's 2 feet deep, and it's probably 16 by 10.
And how do you determine that size?
We just asked him to do it.
Yeah, I mean, normally I wouldn't do anything
He doesn't
for,
have, we just asked him to.
Are you asking about the calculations or
Yeah, I mean,
why is it?
is it based on an inch of rain over a 24-hour period, or?
What are the calculations for that?
it's 1 inch over the area of the foundation, over the area of the roof. That's what it would be. That's your first flush, 1 inch.
get your name?
Yeah, it's Tim Carroll. I'm in the butter.
It's right here.
Okay, great.
And that's, you said it's 30 feet from the property line?
I would say, yeah, 30 feet. Yeah, we're leaving a buffer. We're leaving like a 20-foot buffer along the property line and then 10 feet to the depression.
The whole thing with designing, vegetation and the depression, is make sure that nothing washes out on the spot. It just stays in that area, it gets absorbed. Any other questions from Peter? Okay, well, we ask you a $1 million question. Would you like to close your hearing?
Yes.
I do have one question. Do you know when the construction is going to start?
We still have to submit to the Board of Health. I was waiting for conservation approval, and after Board of Health approves it, I would say probably in a month. I think they would start construction a month or two.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we have a motion to close the hearing from the commission.
So moved.
Second.
And so let's vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
Shannon, I. Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Excellent. It's unanimous vote of the commission. So we will have Mary write up the oral conditions, and then we will vote on that and have it issued within 21 days. Want to read the oral conditions, they'll be in our office,
Okay.
and then eventually they'll be on our website.
And eventually file with the registry of deeds. Right?
Okay. 2-705, this is number 45 Main Street. It's like a laundry and grass swale, continue from February 28th.
This is also Peter LaVoy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, that's the end of our interest. I'm
All
sorry.
right, no, that's okay, Tony, always a pleasure.
Okay, here, it's all yours.
Okay, so since the last meeting, I did get a DEP number. And I have gone back and forth with DEP with their comments. I wrote up a operation and maintenance plan. They were asking for that. And then they also asked for a stormwater checklist, which I did, and I tried to explain to them that we're not increasing any impervious area. We're just trying to resolve an existing drainage problem that occurs at the site. But they wanted me to do a stormwater checklist, which I didn't think I needed to do, but I did do that. And I also did an operation and maintenance plan. And Mary has copies of that also.
Thank you. So Mary, what did you think?
I thought it looked good. Didn't write up an official review, but I did read this one.
Okay, any questions from the commission? Any questions, Mary?
I think we're all set. We were just waiting for the number, I think. That was it.
Yep, that was it.
Excellent. So Pierre, would you like to close this one?
Yes, I would.
Okay, for the commission, can we have a vote to close the hearing?
So moved.
How about a second?
Second.
So wait, vote. Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Shannon, I. Marcella, I.
Excellent. Unanimous vote on the commission. And Mary will get to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Within 21 days. And how are we doing time-wise? 7:10?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, excellent. An NOI for 6th School Street, starting on break. Grass swale, continue from February 28th.
This is also Peter Lavoy.
Wow,
There's no DEP number for this one though, right?
Correct. I don't know why. I tried all week. I started Monday trying to get a DEP number, but I did not. So I'll probably get it tomorrow. That's what usually happens. I mean, there was a change to the plan. I added the erosion control that Mary wanted me to add. So that was really the only change where I added erosion control on the right-hand side of the property prior to where the wetland was on the right side. But besides that, it's the same.
any questions, Mary?
No,
Any questions from the commission?
we just have to continue with
Yeah, we'll continue it until, how about 7 o'clock?
Yeah.
Our next meeting will be the 26th.
Aren't we starting the next meeting late?
Oh,
Oh,
right, 7:30.
7:30. Thank you, Marcella.
Was this 6 School Street?
Yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't.
such a small project, just surprised.
Okay, 7:30 on the 20.
Where is the program, someone had our program here?
The library.
Oh,
So it's a walk across the street.
sounds
Okay,
interesting.
so here, this one is continued until the 26th of March. I mean,
Okay. Okay, thank you.
you,
26th of March.
April.
April?
March.
March.
Oh, March. March.
Getting ahead of yourself, April.
No, spring.
Are we having a vacation?
Not teaching anymore.
No.
Alright.
Okay, so now we have those intent for Orchard Street. Starting on a single family house, continue from February 28th. And 27th.
We have Karen Keegan here. Karen, would you like to share your screen? She's just coming on, so. Hi Karen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, I can't share my screen, unfortunately. I came late to the meeting. I drive too far. Sorry.
Okay, I can pull it up.
Thank you very much, Mary. Okay, so at our last meeting, we discussed some stormwater drainage to be added to this plan. It has been added to the left side of the house and it discharges out to the back. We were supposed to add a tire scrubber, but Mary and I discussed that we could put it into the order of conditions. And I believe one of the members asked for a copy of a plan showing the rest of the wetlands out in the back. And I did submit that along with this plan at the same. So they have a copy of that. And this is a single family house, with a driveway, septic system, proposed well in the front. It has been approved by the Board of Health. There are 5 markers to be put along the 25-foot buffer zone or the 30-foot buffer zone in the back. and a row of straw wattles, not straw wattles, mulch wattles around the limit of disturbance.
Karen, one thing I noticed is I believe this retaining wall, does that go into the 50-foot no-build
Just a
zone?
tiny, tiny
Just
bit, like a
Yes.
foot,
Okay,
like,
So-
like a tiny bit. You
So
can see
maybe-
it, you can see it along, if you were to zoom in on that, you can see it's not very much. It's like a foot, maybe a foot and a half total, if that.
yeah.
It's
So
not a
it's maybe
lot.
just to be official, the board can vote on a variance for that.
Okay,
Karen, is that a DEP number?
Yes.
I do have one.
Okay, Mary, any questions?
That was the only thing, was the variance.
Any questions from the board? No? Okay, Karen, would you like to close?
We have to vote on the variance first.
Oh. Okay, let's a motion on the variance.
So move.
Second.
Second,
Okay, let's do a voice vote, press aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
Like,
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
Shannon?
Oh, sorry, I may have talked over someone. Shannon, I.
Ellen.
Isa.
Oh, okay. It's a yes vote with Christian. So let's see if we can close the hearing.
So, motion to close the hearing.
Okay.
Second,
Okay, let's go voice vote, press aye.
Tom, I.
okay.
Sandy, I.
Alan, I.
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
Excellent, yes, vote with Christian. So, Mary will let you know when the orders are ready, Karen. So you're
Okay.
all set.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Have a great night. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Now. Then we're gonna and read these. The notices. It's if 10:15 in Hawaii for lot 5 or wait, I'm sorry. 7:20 in Hawaii for lot 1, 69 South Street. George Alesio, build a home.
All right, do you suppose I can read all of them at once? I think that'd be okay. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act that the Upton Conservation Commission will hold the following public hearings on Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. At 7:20 p.m., a notice of intent filed by Rick Morrell for the construction of a single-family home at Lot 1, 169 South Street at 7:30. Same for Rick Morrell at Lot 2. 7:35, same single-family home at Lot 3. And 7:40, a single-family home at Lot 4.
Excellent. So, Rick, if you can let us know what you're doing.
I think I need to promote them to panelists first.
Oh, okay. We're very efficient tonight.
Every night was this well.
We have to be, but sometimes our plan tonight. Playing the see thunder.
Are we ready?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hi there. My name is Susan MacArthur from MacArthur Environmental Consulting, and I'm here with Rick Morrell from Morrell Construction Company. He's the applicant, as well as Sean Malone from Oak Consulting Group, who is the project engineer. And may we share our screen?
Hopefully it should work.
Okay. Sean, can you put up maybe the overall plan first?
Sure.
Overall site.
His haircut.
Are you talking about my haircut, Rick?
Great, nice.
Okay. You have the overall plan up?
Still waiting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Yep.
we do. Maybe you could zoom in little bit on the lots, on the developed lots. Yeah, that's good. We have filed this notice of intent for the development of Lot 1, located off the new subdivision roadway, which is actually under construction right now, at 169 South Street in Upton. And as you can see, this is an overall plan, and Lot 1 is in the lower, Lot 1 is in the lower right-hand corner where Sean is pointing to. I just wanted to give you an overview. So we'll be, this is the first of the 4 lots coming before you. And maybe Sean, you can switch that out to focus on the Lot 1 plan. Thank you. So Lot 1, we've filed a notice of intent for work within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. And Lot 1 is approximately 242,759 square feet in size. It's located to the east of a detention basin, which was being installed per the subdivision roadway, which has already been approved by the commission. And to the north and west of a forested wetland is the development of Lot 1. And then it's located south of the subdivision roadway. Okay. So topography at the site is fairly level, with elevations ranging from 286 feet at the center of the property to about 276 feet around its outer fringe. The property is forested, containing a mix of deciduous and coniferous trees and native shrubs and herbaceous vegetation. The wetland resources at the overall site and within this lot were delineated back in August of 2023, and then again in March of 2024. So the proposed development of Lot 1, Sean, maybe you can zoom in on the house just so they can see a little better. Thank you. The development of Lot 1 consists of the construction of a 3,482 square foot single-family home with a full foundation, a porch, a deck, patio, bituminous driveway, a roof recharge unit at the back of the house there, a domestic well, the installation of a septic field and tank, installation of electrical and cable conduit, and we are proposing to do some clearing and grubbing, minor grading, and loaming and seeding. So for this lot, portions of the driveway, the domestic well, minor grading, and some clearing and grubbing, loaming and seeding lie within the 100-foot buffer zone to the BVW. Approximately 11,892 square feet of disturbance is proposed within the 100-foot buffer, and of that, 2,400 square feet of new impervious, which is the driveway, is proposed. We have made efforts to stay out of the 50-foot buffer zone, so no work is proposed within 50 feet of the wetland. So this lot was carefully laid out to avoid and minimize impacts to the wetland resource areas and the buffer zones. Prior to any ground disturbance, we are proposing an erosion and sediment control barrier, and to prevent any sediment from migrating down to the wetland, the adjacent wetland. And the roof runoff will capture clean rooftop runoff, the dry well will capture clean rooftop runoff from the new house at Lot 1 via gutters and downspouts. And the system has been designed for a 1-inch storm event for a 4,000 square foot roof. So it'll be plenty big enough. And it is a Cultex system that we're proposing. And I think that kind of sums up work on lot 1. Oh, and just so you know, I checked and none of these lots have a DEP file number yet. So none of the NOIs, I should say. So we're still waiting on that. Any questions?
Only comments, were you guys thinking of putting a construction entrance in at the driveway? Or maybe that's not necessary because of the subdivision road? How?
Well, the subdivision road is being constructed and it'll go about 10 feet into each of the lot driveways, initially. But Rick, if you want to address,
Yeah, I was pretty much gonna lead into what Mary said. We have the subdivision road, but I believe we will have stone before, actually in each lot to help with that, to help not track material out into the road. So the answer is yes. Sean's gonna draw that in.
Okay. And then any stockpiling, do you have a designated stockpile for this lot? Are you going to be, I think we had talked when I did a site visit that you might be stockpiling everything in one spot for the whole thing, or are you at one area? Go ahead.
Yeah, we thought some about this today, and it's a little tricky to define. It really depends on the phasing and what house I go at. So the stockpiling may be in different locations on different lots at different times. So, we kind of pinned in there. We don't have that much, that many places to store it. So we're gonna do our best to try to, store it and protect it as well with, silt fence or wattle.
And I think, Rick, we also had talked about that there'll be no additional clearing required for any stockpiling, right? Any stockpiling would just be within the approved clearing limits.
Correct.
Yeah, this lot is pretty simple. I think of all the lots, there's not very many issues with it. It's easy. Yes, we do need bounds though. And I guess the question was, because they have kept all their work out of the 50-foot, do we want to put them along the 30-foot? Is that what you usually do? Or along the 50-foot? Or how does the applicant feel about that too?
Well, I feel if I don't have to put them in, I don't want them. It would be, I want the opinion of the board, honestly, I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to permit 50. Sorry, go ahead.
I think in the past, they usually go on the 30-foot, even if there's undisturbed area between. I mean, I guess if the homeowner potentially wanted to push out a little bit, they could.
But not structured, but they could
Like
extend
extend the lawn. Yeah. Not that we would encourage that, but.
or even clip-ins or whatever.
Right. So.
Yeah, so it'd be nice at the 30, they need to be at the 30.
Put them at the 30. Yeah, so this lot has a lot of it's a kind of a big section of running along the wetland there, so it might need, I don't know, 6 pounds or more. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, Sean could put something together, something we think you guys would be happy with. So, it's kind of cut up. So I see the hesitation there and come up with a number.
Yeah. And there's kind of some logical angle points, I think, like something like here, 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 here.
What makes sense?
Yeah. All right, we'll take a look at that and present something.
And
Mary, what kind of bounds are you does the commission look for?
It's a 4x4 concrete post that's about 4 foot tall, I think. They're in the ground, 18 inches above, and I believe like 3 foot below.
So basically the same as like the same as a property bound, really.
Yeah, and then we have medallions here that you purchase and then go on the top.
Okay.
Mary, did you get all the green cards?
I don't think we have gotten the green cards from you guys.
No, I did certificate of mailings and I have the receipts for those, but I haven't mailed them off to you yet. Which I can do.
Any other questions, Mary?
This is an easy one.
Okay, questions from the commission? Okay, so we will need to continue then.
The numbers yet.
It's easy, 35.
Oh, and one kind of question that we had for the board, on the details, I showed a 18-inch Filtrex socks. That was an error. We wanted to do a 12, and the reason being, you know, we're pretty moderate slopes here, and the 18 inch is pretty much double the cost, and we have quite a bit of the Filtrex going in here, and for this small project here, I think a 12-inch would be more than sufficient. So wanted to just get reaction from the board on that change.
You guys, for the road, you put in the 18-inch, right, Rick? Isn't that what's in front,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, we followed the detail on the plans.
And in some cases, I feel like you'll end up having, well, you sometimes have the stuff for the road you'll have, and then you have an additional layer for the lots on some of them, or not, or there is no repetition that way.
I think there are some areas of overlap.
Okay, 12 inches. Answer that question. Anyone else have a problem?
Fine.
As long as the slopes are moderate. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't think that there's really any slopes much greater than 10% that are existing, and all of our proposed grading, we've tried to do it 4-to-1 or shallower. So really trying to keep things moderate here.
Need to continue.
Continue until 7:35 on March 20th.
So
So
so moved.
Oh, second.
let's all in favor, Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
Okay.
Sandy, I.
Jen and I.
Marcella, I.
So it is so of the commission. Okay, it'll continue until 7:35 on March 6th. Okay, so now we go to lot number 2.
Okay. Sean, do you want to switch to lot 2? Again, for excuse me, for the record, my name is Susan MacArthur, MacArthur Environmental Consulting. the applicant, Rick Morel, Morel Construction Company, Inc., and Sean Malone, Oak Consulting Group. He's the project engineer. So this is the second of the 4 NOIs that were filed for the development of the subdivision. This is Lot 2, which is located at 169 South Street in Upton, within the 200-foot riverfront area to Taft Pond Brook. Sorry, my voice is going. So Lot 2 is approximately 187,969 square feet in size. It's surrounded by a detention basin to the south, Taft Pond Brook to the north and west, Lot 1 to the south, and Lot 4 to the east. Topography ranges in elevation from 283 feet near the subdivision roadway, up at the subdivision roadway, to 272 feet at the limits of the backyard. The lot is currently forested with a mixture of deciduous and hardwood trees and saplings, and understory of native shrubs and herbaceous vegetation. Again, the wetland resources at the site were delineated in August of 2023 and again in March of 2024. Taft Pond Brook is a perennial stream and it flows through Lot 2 in a southwesterly direction. The stream is approximately 75 to 85 feet wide with a sandy, mucky substrate. The mean annual high water line of the stream was delineated on Lot 2 with consecutively numbered blue flagging. MAHW2-106 to 2-114 exist within this area. And the river is fringed with a bordering vegetated wetland, which the buffered zone doesn't extend into the developed area of Lot 2. Excuse me. So there is a 100-year floodplain associated with the Taft Pond Brook, and it does extend into Lot 2, but no work is proposed in bordering land subject to flooding on this lot. So the development at Lot 2 includes the construction of a 2,800 square foot single family home with a patio and deck, a bituminous driveway, installation of a roof recharge unit and a domestic well, installation of a septic field and tank, installation of electrical and cable conduit, clearing and grubbing, minor grading around the footprint of the house, and loaming and seeding. The house will have a full foundation, and construction access will be from the subdivision roadway. So portions of the back and side yard do lie within the 200-foot riverfront area. No new impervious surfaces are proposed within the resource area. Approximately 8,938 square feet of disturbance is proposed in the outer 100-foot buffer zone to the 200-foot riverfront area. And as you can see, it's that hatched area. Sean, do you want to just point it out to them? Yeah, so that hatched area is the riverfront area that will be loam and seeded and some minor grading. Again, the lot was carefully laid out to avoid minimized wetland impacts. Prior to any ground disturbance, we are proposing an erosion and sediment control barrier. And as I said, we have a recharge unit proposed to treat and capture the rooftop runoff via gutters and downspouts. And it was designed for a 1-inch storm event. And so work in riverfront area, as I said, no new impervious surfaces are proposed. I'm just gonna kind of go through the regulations a little bit. So the work on lot 2 will not occur in any other resource areas. We're not in priority habitat or estimated habitat of rare wildlife or any certified vernal pools. And we did go through an alternatives analysis, which I won't get into unless the commission wants me to. Let's see, there is approximately 92,861 square feet of riverfront area on lot 2. 54,280 of that exists from 0 to 100 feet, and 38,581 square feet from 100 to 200 feet. So approximately 8,938 square feet of work is proposed in the outer 160 square feet of riverfront area. This represents an alteration of 9.63% of the riverfront area on the lot, which is less than the allowable 10% on lots recorded after 1997, which this one obviously is. Let's see. We're providing the undisturbed fringe of vegetation along the Taft Pond Brook. Stormwater is being managed at the lot with the recharge unit. We are not planning on, the project will not impair any important wildlife habitat functions. And it will not impair groundwater or surface water quality. And as I said, we are proposing the erosion and sediment control barrier. Again, the 12-inch Filtrex for this site. And that is it.
Thank you. Okay, Mary, any questions?
All right, so my main comment was on the riverfront area disturbance. You know, they are disturbing the maximum amount possible, you know, just less than 10%. And it does seem to me that you could cut it a little bit, like over to the well, that left-hand portion. It does make for a smaller yard, but really that's the only impact. If you think of all the alternatives, you could make the yard smaller. That was just my only comment. They do have a very small yard in the back. I can't remember whether it's 30 or 50. It is very small on the back and the side. So what you're looking at there is about 100 feet on that wider area. So I was proposing maybe cutting it to 60. So it does make for a small yard, but then again, this is riverfront area. So was my
And
suggestion.
10% is this wetland touch and that.
The maximum, yeah.
Right, and get vital. Consider.
Right.
I don't want to, can I jump in? I don't want to, I don't recall what was the riverfront line verified?
Yes, I did look at the roof.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're happy with
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I looked at all the wetlands back when I did it. Right.
I wonder if potential buyers would realize you would not be able to pull in.
No pools, yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, it's a small, you end up with a small yard but you are right up, because the house is just barely touching the riverfront area. See.
I definitely think we need balance here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the bounds, I would say, would have to go along the riverfront area, edge of the riverfront area. Yeah, and the question was just what, you know, whether, I mean, I think they could pull that riverfront area alteration down.
How about moving the house closer to the road?
I think they have the septic up there. I don't know if the house can go closer to the road. I guess that's a good question, Susan.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just jump in on that one real quick if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The restriction is actually the setback line. So we only have a couple feet that we could move up to the front, but you know, we can look at gaining a little bit there, but there's not a lot to be gained in the front.
Tathon Brook is a cold water stream. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I saw that somewhere.
We're good.
We have to continue anyway.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see what it would look like if we went 2 feet up.
Yeah, and Rick, what are your thoughts about maybe kind of cutting this area out? You know, basically leaving this natural, move this line in here as Mary suggested. Maybe do the 60 feet off of the building.
Yeah, I'm okay with the 60 feet, and if we have to move the well a little bit to the right, like you're saying, create a somewhat of a vertical line up to the 200-foot
like that.
Front line. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So we can make that change, and I think that'll knock down the disturbance, I think, significantly.
And the bounds, Mary, you're proposing on the,
Yeah, they would have to go on the edge of the front.
so what are
Well,
you doing with the house and everything?
No,
That's
I
what
guess it
I'm
has to go along the edge of disturbance. Because you don't want bounds right up next to the
Well,
house.
that was my
Yeah,
question. That's
they would have to
why.
go on the edge of disturbance, right at the edge there. Yeah, so I think you may only need 3 or 4 here because there's not that much to go with, but I think you'd also wanna, put
Right.
one at the 200-foot, where it crosses, where the disturbance crosses the 200.
Yeah, so maybe like something like here, well, this line's gonna move in, but here, here, maybe here.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
If we took that land on, if we didn't disturb on the left there where you are now, Sean, could we increase the rear area a little bit behind the house?
No, because then we start getting that 269 contour.
Okay, correct.
Still in the riverfront.
A lot of constraints.
Yeah. All right, so we'll show some bounds on the limit of disturbance within the riverfront area. And we'll look at cutting this area out, leaving this natural and moving this over a little bit.
Less stressful.
Exactly, easier to maintain.
Right?
Yeah.
So any other questions or comments? Okay, so we have to continue as well. So how if we do 40 on 26?
I think we need a motion for that.
Motion,
Oh, so moved.
one second. Okay, press I.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Marcella, I.
And it's muted.
Shannon's.
Sorry, I think I keep going at the same time as other people. Shannon, I.
Shannon and I vote
Okay.
together.
So we all are to until the 26th at 7:40. Thank you. No, we're on to lot 3.
Oh, okay. Ready for the next one? Okay. For the record, my name is Susan MacArthur from MacArthur Environmental Consulting. Rick Morrill Construction Company, Inc. as the applicant, and Sean Malone, Oak Consulting Group is the project engineer. So this is the third of the 4 NOIs for the development of the subdivision at 169 South Street. This is being filed for Lot 3. And Lot 3 is within, work is proposed within the 200-foot riverfront area to Taft Pond Brook, bordering land subject to flooding, and the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. So Sean, you have Lot 3 up? Okay. Thank you. Lot 3 is approximately 129,223 square feet in size, and it's surrounded by the subdivision roadway cul-de-sac and Lot 4 to the south and east, forested wetlands and Taft Pond Brook to the north and west. Topography at the site ranges in elevation from 270 feet to 288 feet. The lot is currently forested with a mixture of deciduous and hardwood trees and saplings and an understory of native shrubs and herbaceous vegetation. Again, the wetland resources at the site were delineated in August of 2023 and again in March of 2024. Taft Pond Brook is a perennial stream that flows through this lot and in a southwesterly direction. The stream is about 75 to 85 feet wide with a sandy, mucky substrate. It's the river itself is fringed with bordering vegetated wetlands, as I described above. The forested wetland is located to the north of Lot 3, and it was delineated with pink flagging beginning all the way out at South Street and extending to where the wetland line ties into the bank at Taft Pond Brook. A 100-year floodplain is associated with Taft Pond Brook and extends onto Lot 3. This area is regulated as bordering land subject to flooding, or BLSF. Lot 3 consists of the construction of a 3,700 square foot single family home with a patio and deck, a bituminous driveway, the installation of a recharge unit and domestic well, a septic field and tank, installation of electrical and cable conduit, clearing and grubbing, and minor grading around the house. Portions of the back and side yard lie within, portions of the side yard lie within the riverfront area, and BLSF is along the back, as well as the 100-foot buffer zone to the bordering vegetated wetland in the backyard. So work within this area includes just minor grading, clearing, grubbing, and seeding, loaming and seeding. No new impervious surfaces are being proposed within the resource areas. Approximately 5,436 square feet of disturbance is proposed within the outer 170 foot or feet of the 200-foot riverfront area. And again, we are proposing an erosion and sediment control barrier prior to any ground disturbance. And again, we're proposing a recharge unit, Caltech system designed for a 1-inch storm event. And I can go through the compliance with the riverfront area regs if people would like me to. I don't hear a yes or no. Maybe I'll just do it anyway.
That's the percentage impact.
What's that?
Yes, what is the percent Impact?
Okay, yeah, let me get to that. Let's see. Okay, there is approximately 59,695 square feet of riverfront area on lot 3. 44,287 square feet from 0 to 100 feet, and 15,695 square feet from 100 to 200 feet. Approximately 5,436 square feet of work is proposed within the outer 170 feet of riverfront area. This represents an alteration of 9.11% of riverfront area on the lot, which is less than the allowable 10% on lots recorded after October 6, 1997. And I just want to add that the work in bordering lands subject to flooding, we are not proposing any fill or cuts within the area. So, although work is being proposed in that 100-year floodplain area, it's just going to be clearing and grubbing, loaming, and seeding. So it won't change the base flood elevation or flood flows at all. Anyway, that's all I have. If anyone has any questions.
Mary, what did you think?
So one thing I noticed, the Upton bylaw bordering land subject to flooding actually carries a buffer or a buffer to it. So we would have to probably do a variance, because maybe Sean, you can point out where the line is for bordering lands. It's right there. So I probably they're probably within a 50-foot no build of that line, I would think.
Could you point that out where it is? Because I looked in the bylaw and I do not see that. And I'm just curious, where, I don't know if you have the bylaw regulations handy, but.
Right, so if you were looking on what's it called, the code, the E-code, if you were looking on that, that's actually a mistake in the E-code, but it is on we have a PDF version of the bylaw or on the regs that's on our website, and you can see it in the table there. It's
in a table format?
Yeah, it's in a table.
Oh, I must be looking at the wrong area then, because I'm looking at the, let's see, I think it's just the general provisions under 2C or something, statement of jurisdiction. It's not a table though, and it doesn't state that the 100-foot, it doesn't state that there's a buffer zone. So, I didn't realize.
Yeah, I think that's definitely potentially confusing. And then just the other comment was just the same thing as the last one. It seems like the riverfront area alterations could again be reduced, although in this situation, they got a lot of grading in there. So you might need a retaining wall or something to pull that down to make the riverfront area alterations smaller. That's my only comment.
Diagonal line.
Yeah, cut the diagonal or whatever. Seems like you could reduce it. Yeah, I think the lot would look a little bit better squaring it that line anyway. But
Yeah,
and then again, we could put one bounds on this lot. This lot's gonna need a lot of bounds, probably.
So where would we be looking at bounds for this one, Mary?
All right, so a good question.
The riverfront, wherever that.
So, yeah, and do you think it's possible to reduce that riverfront area alteration?
I'll take a look. I mean, we're dropping 8 feet in a relatively short distance here, so we're really trying to tried to compress that with the grading because we have our septic fields up here as well.
Yeah.
But we'll take a look and see if we can do anything there. This one's a lot more difficult to cut down than lot 2.
If I may say, I mean, even if it was graded, if you had to grade within that area, but then no further disturbance after that, that would be
Or
something.
like replant part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
if you have to construct after that,
and-
but after that, the bounds would like be more conservative.
Mhm. Okay.
It is a cool water stream, by the way.
It's a cold water stream.
Yeah, I thought I saw that, so.
All right, we'll put our heads together and see what we come up with. But I think because it is just grading, and then I think as it was suggested, maybe planting 4 or 5 trees over here, maybe 40, 50 feet off the side of the house or something like that to kind of reestablish vegetation. Something like that is maybe possible.
Yeah, and then with the idea that in that, the bound, there would be no disturb in that area once it's kind of restored.
Yeah, those trees would then be in the bounded area. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. And then bounds on the rest of the lot, boy, that's a little. I think you'd want them to continue to run along the riverfront area for part of it.
We should just do it for the whole property, for the whole development.
So then there's that, yeah, so this property has the 269 flowage easement, which is the gray. Whatever the number is.
I would, sorry, I would be okay if we ran it on the 100-foot.
On the 100-foot buffer, some of those bounds.
Yeah, in the rear of the property, in the rear of the house.
Back here, this line.
Well, no, I'm okay if we keep it on the 100. I understand. I mean, if we would, it is giving a lot up in the rear. It would.
Oh, moving our disturbance line outside of the 100 here is what you're saying, Rick. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think you would have to. I mean, that area it's in the floodplain, but I think it would be okay to have as grass. In my opinion, right? Because you're pretty far from the wetland there. But
yes.
And your markers would be where the back dark line was Sean was just pointing out.
Yeah, I'm not sure where to put them in the back.
Where's the 100-foot?
The 100-foot. Yes.
Maybe you could move this marker.
Yeah, so that's a 100-foot wetland buffer. You could put markers along the 50 maybe, or just have it on the riverfront side, maybe even. But there is wetlands kind of all around. They're just further away.
Just
Other lots, whatever we do, we should be consistent with all the lots. Because those people are going to.
Right, so we were
together.
gonna put 30, we were gonna put them on the 30-foot line of lot 1.
All right.
So maybe we should do the 30-foot line, a couple on the 30-foot lines, which is way back in the woods, but they're there, then people will know where it is.
But we want to capture this riverfront line too, right?
Yes, definitely the line.
Yeah, so we want to maybe do something like I just sketched here.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, and this area would be disturbed for grading, but replanted with 4 or 5 trees, something like that.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions?
Going back to lot 2, I know that's out of order, but the markers would be at the 100-year or 30 foot.
I think that one we talked about doing the riverfront area,
Okay,
the limited disturbance in the riverfront area.
okay.
On this one, do you require a written request for a variance for work in the buffer zone to BLSF?
We usually do a written request. No, we just say it and I'll write it into the order.
Say it and it is done.
Yeah, no. Well, I will, it does get written. Yes.
We have a motion to issue a writing.
So moved.
Second. Let's vote, Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
Okay.
Sandy, I.
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
But it is vote, right? And can we continue this one till 7:50? Let's write this. Vote, please.
So,
Second.
Okay. Let's vote, Chris, aye.
Tom, I.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
Sorry, let's go. Okay, now we have lot 4. Okay.
Okay, lot 4.
Right.
Sean, wanna bring up lot 4? Thank you. Again, for the record, my name is Susan MacArthur, MacArthur Environmental Consulting. The applicant, Rick Morrell from Morrell Construction Company, and Sean Malone from Oak Consulting Group, the project engineer. So we have filed this notice of intent. This is the last notice of intent you will hear from us tonight for lot 4 for work in the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. And lot 4 is approximately 196,008 square feet and is surrounded by the subdivision roadway and lot 1 to the west, a forested wetland to the south, an isolated wetland to the east, and lot 3 to the north. Topography at the site is fairly level, with the elevations ranging from 284 at the back of the property up to 278 up near the roadway, the subdivision roadway. So the proposed work at lot 4 consists of the construction of a 2,600 square foot single family home, a patio, deck, a 20-foot wide bituminous driveway, installation of a roof recharge unit, a domestic well, installation of a septic field and tank, installation of electrical and cable conduit, clearing and grubbing, minor grading, loaming, and seeding. And this house will have a full foundation, and construction access will be from the subdivision roadway. So portions of the proposed work lie within the 100-foot buffer zone to the BVW and the locally regulated 100-foot buffer zone to the isolated vegetated wetlands. And the work within the buffer zone includes minor grading, clearing, grubbing, loaming, and seeding. And that will result in approximately 4,758 square feet of disturbance within the buffer zone. And no new impervious surfaces are proposed. And we have kept work outside of the 50-foot buffer zone as well. And again, as I said, prior to any ground disturbance, we are proposing an erosion and sediment control barrier. And we are also proposing the dry well in the back, a Cultec system that is designed to treat for a 1-inch storm event. And that's it. I don't think we're in any other resources for that. So if anyone has any questions.
Very well, your turn.
Yeah, so you might want to just point out that you keep out of the vernal pool area. You've got your rail on the edge there, which is great. Vernal pool line. And yeah, this lot is fine. It is just a question of bounds for this one. And they should go along that limit of work, along that vernal pool buffer, along there. And it may only need a few because otherwise they're pretty well outside of things. This part.
Did you want to mention the vernal pool? Do you want me to?
What's
Go ahead. Sean. Go ahead. The vernal pool, is the marking? Excuse me. Are we talking about the right distance from the vernal pool?
Yeah, so what I sketched on here was just, 4 markers along the 100-foot buffer to the vernal pool. So there's the vernal pool, there's the 100-foot resource area of the vernal pool, and then a 100-foot buffer beyond that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes, just right along that limit of work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Looks good.
No, this one looks like it has another isolated land sort of line.
Yeah, where is that line?
It's the
Pink
circle.
What was the question, Mary?
It's asking about the 100-year flood zone, right, Chris? Yeah, what you're asking about?
Yeah, there is no flood zone on this lot. The flood zone kind of goes the back of lot 3 and then peels back away. So all of this is all outside of the flood zone.
Yeah, these plans are extreme. Like if you try to color each line a different color, you run out of colors. There's so many lines on these maps.
A lot of stuff. Yeah.
Any questions from the commission? And Mary, what do you think about bounds?
Yeah, just along that limit of work there. Yeah, somewhere along that vernal pool limit of work, maybe 4 or something like that. Because that's the most important edge.
Sounds good.
So do a motion to continue from the commission.
So moved.
Second. Oh, let's do it with the eye.
All aye.
Alan, I.
Okay.
Sandy, I.
And I.
Marcella, I.
Excellent. So we're gonna continue this until 7:55 on this information.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good job.
Good night.
Thank you.
Welcome.
That one is 755.
Right, 7:55.
And what was lot 3?
7:50.
Okay, perfect.
Each one is like 5 minutes. 4. Okay, now we have nothing done for 75 Elm Street. To continue from January 5th.
Yeah, so I talked to him today. He's nowhere near ready. He says maybe April.
Okay.
So maybe we should continue it until
April.
the first meeting in April, whatever that is. So we can look on calendar. April 9th.
Okay. April 9th at 7 o'clock.
Or what time? Oh, big one.
Good job, Bill. Okay, how about the administrative report?
Great.
Let's see the agenda just for a second.
First. So this is, we have a forest cutting plan for Naren Sadler. And the neighbor's been complaining a lot, so I went out and took a site visit. Not that we have any jurisdiction or anything. But I did take a look at it.
Is this the one where the guy wants to plant fruit trees? Or is that
Maybe,
something else?
I don't remember, I didn't read the plan very carefully.
Okay.
But this, it does have he has a lovely sign, which I got in one of the pictures, which forestry for the birds or whatever. And it actually, as logging operations, I thought it was really clean and neat. I mean, obviously it's not the greatest to have it right next to your house. His house is like right there, but it's clean. It's neat.
The pictures you showed with.
Where are the ruts and the?
It looks like.
Oh, lucky he has it.
I was like, this is about as nice as you can get. And I think it's just unfortunate that he didn't realize, like, this landing is right next to his house and the neighbor has never used this landing before. He's always used the other one, so now he has two landings, and I think that was part of the issue.
What's the neighbor's complaint?
Well, my understanding was he'd reached some agreement that he could use his property.
Yeah.
And in exchange for doing something that he didn't get done.
Right, exactly. So this is an odd situation where it's two parcels of land that are not contiguous. And so instead of using a right of way across the neighbor, he decided to put two landings in, so he didn't have to cross the neighbor, so.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was, yeah, I think it was just a little bit lack of understanding and a little surprised that logs are gonna be right next to his house and,
Yeah, they're not gonna be there for long.
and he contacted the state and it's, it's up to the state to inspect it if you have concerns with the wetlands or whatever. So that's that. And this is 30 to 32 Minden Street, which doesn't look quite as neat as the logging.
I was gonna say.
operation.
Logging operation much better than that.
It does. Yeah, and I did talk to him today. I mean, I don't think it's terrible, but it's a little like,
A little soupy.
yeah. So he's gonna put silt fence in along this side, because this is the wetland here, this is his crossing. He has a nice big mulch berm there, but it's still, I feel like a silt fence would be helpful. So he's gonna do that. And then, so, well, a neighbor had called to complain, and he does have bags of Phragmites sitting in the wetland, but they're frozen in, so, okay. Well, when they thaw, I'll pull them out. So that
The fragments of
I think so.
cut stems or?
I don't know what's in it, but this is the one that's doing Phragmites, so I assume that that's what it is. They went out and were bagging it.
To be honest, it's been a long time. We asked for 100% control, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna have to use herbicide. See. Way they can reach that level.
It's gonna be, yeah, it's a pretty big standard.
But it's achievable.
Yeah.
It'll take a couple of years.
Yeah, I'll have to remind him, and we had talked about the fact that he's supposed to be doing that first thing, and obviously he couldn't when it was frozen. It's got to get in there pretty soon. And just tree removal.
But listen, I mean, the herbicide can be less damaging to the environment than and trying to go in there and muck around and pull out rhizomes and
Right, with a machine.
in the rhizomes, they're not, you're not doing everyone, it's just.
Well, I can do them on. I can do
And
them on.
at one point I thought, did they talk about also putting down plastic,
Yes,
that,
which they haven't done yet.
yeah. Could work with some extent, but. You're probably not gonna likely get high temperatures under that plastic. Horizon. Boston did that emphatically. They had enormous. This was like 20 years ago. They had a lot of opposition to using herbicide, so they put down this basically this landfill cover, and but the temperature underneath the cover wasn't enough to kill the Phragmites, and the Phragmites started popping through the seams in the cover. It was just, it was a failure. Phragmites is now gone, so dug up, but there was just no way they could do this. It was near the Victory Gardens, if you go to the back, they fence. The gardens, the garden plots.
Tree removal on North Main next to Mill Pond. This is pretty easy. These 4 are all dead. The 4th is not in the buffer, I don't think. These 3. This is a live maple that is, they only have like 10 feet between the retaining wall and the house, and the maple's in the middle. It's like, I don't think it surprised the retaining wall. I mean, it's one of these old ones from very old, but so that was a very reasonable tree removal. And that's that. The only other thing. All right, so I did send that letter to Milford Right Space Storage. She called today, and we're set up to do like a site walk next week and look at it and see what they can do. She's like, oh, I don't think we have a O&M plan, and we're not the original owners, and if there ever was one, it's been lost. And I checked our files, there is none in the file, so maybe there never was one. This is an old 2005. So, I mean, maybe we just want to drop it, but I feel like they should clean the tree out. At least there's a tree falling. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe there's nothing that needs to be done to it. She says she doesn't think they even can access it. That seems like there ought to be able to access
Might
it.
just be habitat now.
Yeah, it's just like a little pond, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we just leave it be.
Yeah.
Who knows?
If there's no plan,
Well, there's a plan showing the detention basin,
yeah, but no
but no,
maintenance
I don't
plan.
think there's
Any notes on the plan? Maintenance?
yeah, it's still on.
Or you check it later.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can check to see. I think it's a pretty bare bones plan. But I can check that. Yeah, it's hard to know what to do with these old things. I mean, if there doesn't seem to be any flooding problems.
Right, that's
then
why, just, my thought
You
is,
just have to judge them as you see them
Yeah,
my thought is
and
just
move forward.
leave it be if there's nothing written down about it.
right,
And as long as there's no flooding.
right,
stuff.
right. Yeah, because there's a lot of detention basins in town.
Yeah,
And if we wanted them to clean it or whatever, just a letter, some sort of a letter or something.
yeah, but if it's old and it's not, there's no problem, I don't have a problem leaving it alone.
The problem is when your neighbors complain, then something has to be generated.
Right. The guy on Taft Street, it's a lot of water from his garden, that's crazy.
That hasn't been.
Maybe when the leaves.
I don't think so.
Forget about
That
it.
one, that one's
Pardon, right?
yeah. Well, I think we heard from him after the summer of many rains, and we haven't heard from him, it hasn't been raining, so. Heard from him recently. right, and then I did call 2 engineers to talk a little bit about stormwater bylaw. I spoke with someone from Greer and Hinland, and they said for a single family house, I think this is what I understood, all the engineering would be $30,000, okay, and part of that's doing the septic plan, and part of that would be doing a stormwater review, would be $3,000 to $5,000 potentially for a stormwater review. So that's kind of what we're asking people to do, I think, including all the calculations and everything. And I did ask, you know, I'm like, so, well, I guess we could have asked, for example, Karen Keegan, when she put those Coltex in on Orchard Street, I don't think she did the full-blown calculations. They just kind of know, all right, seems like everybody puts in about 4 units for the houses, the type of houses that they're building. So that's, you know, they're kind of doing a rule of thumb, you know, this amount of square feet, they do a quick calculation, but they're not doing the full-blown state, the 1 inch thick.
And do we really need that?
Well, yeah, and so that's what our new law requires.
Oh.
Well, and that's, it requires yeah, I don't know that we need it, and so the people at Gary and Hanlon said that they, you know, they're working with a bunch of towns and a lot of them have these stormwater bylaws, but it starts at 1 acre instead of half an acre. So we could just change the threshold, which is kind of easy. I also talked with Peter Bemis from, you know, that engineer, and he was a great resource, but I'm afraid I asked too much. He's like, oh, he was like on the stormwater bylaw committee in Southborough and Hopkinton, and he practically rewrote. He's like, well, let me look at it. I'm like, no, you don't have to spend any time on it. And he's like, oh no, I'm going to look at it, but I haven't heard back from him, so I hope he forgot about it because I don't want him spending an hour on it. But it sounds like he helped. He said the Hopkinton one was all messed up, and he helped the agent there make it so it was workable. So I even mentioned to Chris, well, maybe we should hire him.
Well, I mean, maybe it's worth listening to what he said before you decide anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like he has a lot of experience.
Yeah, and if he's helped write stuff, I think we should listen to what he says and then go from there.
But I don't want him to put in extra work without paying him anything for it, so. Yeah.
Can you hire him for that?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'd have to talk to Joe about that, whether we can do that.
Well, let's just see what he says, and then if we need to go in greater detail, maybe we can talk about it.
Right. Yeah, and so another stormwater update, I was talking with Mike Antonellis about the stormwater bylaw, and he's like, well, if you read this, actually, it doesn't cover the whole town. He was looking at Article 3. And I was like, oh, and it's not clear. And I actually called Beta, you know, the people who did it, and said, what's the deal? I thought you said it covers the whole town. He's like, well, yeah, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, no, it doesn't say that in Article 3. He's like, what? It doesn't? So they made a mistake. They said, well, it was supposed to. So.
Fixed.
Not even in trouble.
So it's ambiguous at the best. And in one section, like if you look at.
Hired Alpha.
Yeah. If you look at the regs under the land disturbance permit, it says, you know, any work disturbing more than 20,000 square feet requires this. So that sounds pretty like, all right, it's a whole town. But if you look at the applicability under the bylaw section, it says all land that drains into the MS4 area. So if you think about the watershed of the town, there is some land that does not drain into the MS4 area, including land in the south of town. So that's the challenge. So I think stormwater bylaw just needs a little bit of work.
Look that a little closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so let's hear what he has to say, and
Yep.
maybe it makes sense to hire him if he can make it understandable and well palatable.
On the other hand, just raising the threshold would be very easy.
Right, it would be very easy to do that.
But it
And we're
doesn't
still
cover it.
requiring that stormwater checklist and the $5,000 worth
Right.
of cost. But and it'll in next week, because we're gonna get that submission for Puddin Street. So I'll put all that up on the website if you wanna take a look and see what's actually, and we'll review it, we'll see what's involved and I think for that size property, 5 acres, it's very appropriate to require that kind of work. So we'll look at it and kind of get a feel of what's involved with it. It's from my report.
Okay, thank you. And how about administrative report?
Yeah, so we have voucher it's a big voucher because of paying off the bridge. Share the screen. It was 6,000 whatever for the rest of those school, this was school district 9 bridges, right? Yeah, for the rest of that. And just my mileage, and you see I didn't go anywhere in February because there was so much snow.
The motion to pay the bills?
Yeah, and I pulled, let me just show you where I pulled that Burnt Hills one out. So there was not enough money in the land stewardship revolving fund to cover that. So I pulled it out of land stewardship, that's that. Well, there was another expense, but that's why it's gotten down low to 3,000. So those, we have 3,000 there, 5,000 there, and then we still have these things to be paid.
Do the motion pay the bills?
So moved.
Second?
Until voice vote, print the aye.
Aye.
Alan, I.
Sandy, I.
Shannon, I.
Marcella, I.
Let's vote on the commission. Do we have paper to sign?
Yes, we do. So there's 3 orders of conditions for 27 Cedar Farm, 0 Orchard, and 45 Main. And then, Chris, when you're done with those, here's the voucher. Oh, you need a pen?
I have one.
Okay.
Want us to pass those 3 around? I come back to you.
First.
It's cute.
Yeah, that's, you don't need the chance for that.
You for that one.
Got her trained to bring a pen. Just like junior high.
It's over there.
Chris is organized.
I actually bring an extra one. Yeah.
Okay, so anything else, Mary?
I think there's a few things on page 2. Turn over.
Wow.
Not even.
Did they?
Sandy Easton's. Sandy
So
Easton.
you can ask, just sign.
Thank you.
Very appreciative of you. I'll even sign it so people can read it.
I'll even sign it twice.
Yeah.
41 Milford
Want me to sign
Street.
for my husband too? Do you need another one? I have his power of attorney.
I don't know. Yeah, and give it POA after it.
Well, anybody sees that, they'll think that's Tom.
Oh,
Sure.
41 Milford Street submitted an RDA today or yesterday for that work and basically said it's not a wetland, so we may have to do a little bit more work on that.
Can they prove it?
I don't know that they did any digging.
Okay.
They proved it by looking at all the old aerials and saying it never was a wetland before. That's how they proved it.
Reliable way to delineate wetlands areas.
No, that's where all the pine trees are, right?
Yeah.
That was a long time question that there was a wetland.
Yeah.
And the lady across the street brought up. I can't remember her name, but there was wetland. I remember that.
Yeah. Anyhow, so we'll be looking more into that next meeting. Delightful.
Yeah, can't you just get an August and figure that out? Or?
Well, remember he filled it.
Oh. Oh.
So I can get, I probably will go out there and see how deep it is. But we may want to hire a third party reviewer to actually dig it away and look at what's going on.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that's
It was, what is this delineation time about?
time bond.
I mean,
Okay, you just go with that.
could we hire them?
Oh, right.
I mean, they were working for different clients. I don't know how that'd be any kind of a problem, but
You're working for the town,
Right.
the DPW.
oh, they weren't working for the state. They were working for.
No, they were working for us.
Oh, that's not a problem.
We should hire them to, well, they already have all the data sheets done.
Hire them to defend their line,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah, or to explain their line.
Yeah. Yeah, so with that would, I'd have to get some money from Mr. Holler to do that. Yeah.
Well, you mean for the applicant?
Yeah,
If we needed to, we could dip into our wetland funds,
yeah, I guess potentially.
even if it was.
Yeah.
That was a problem.
So the applicant is essentially saying there are no wetlands.
There's no wetland there. So we have to dispute it. Right.
So is that the, you don't mind if I ask a couple of questions?
Go ahead.
So, is that the sort of thing where if we dispute it and we're right, they pay?
So if you're doing a third-party wetland review, I think this is more for NOIs than RDAs, but this is a big disruption. So we can say this shouldn't have even been an RDA. We should make it an NOI, but he's not wanting to build anything, right? But he already altered, he already filled,
There's an enforcement.
and there's an enforcement. So we could say an RDA is not an appropriate filing here.
Mhm.
And I'll have to think about that. It's like, well, is RDA even appropriate?
No.
Might be worth consulting with the DEP.
Yeah, maybe that's
on
maybe.
this one.
So did he fulfill the
When we-
enforcement
when we-
order yet?
Well, since they filed an RDA, we have to respond to that.
We have to respond to RDA.
Yeah, so it would be a
Can we-
dispute of their interpretation.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I think I may talk to the DEP about this one, because this is.
They end up in their hands anyway.
Well, the thing is, see, it's not, it will never be jurisdictional under the state, because if it's a wetland, it's isolated, so it's only under the town bylaw. I can still talk to the DEP about it,
Process state.
right, from a process standpoint. And,
So did they tell Mike Antonellis that they're intending to build a strip mall?
no, so they included the strip mall plans in the filing as evidence.
Okay, got it.
Yes, I think Mike opened it and was like, what?
Because that's what he told us at the planning board meeting.
Oh, really?
They're planning on building the strip mall.
Well, yes, but he told us he made it seem like they were planning on building a
Who's
strip mall.
saying, Mike?
Mike Antonellis.
Yeah. So I think he looked at it and didn't realize, because they included all the history, which I had given him. they included all that history on the lot, so back to 2005. Basically, they said, well, 15 years ago, it wasn't a wetland, and you decided that, and so we're standing in that. I didn't read it all, but that was the gist of it. And no, like, we dug a test pit and forgot it.
Okay, you made a mistake.
Yeah, and any wetland line from 15 years ago is
That
not
has a
good.
time machine.
Yeah,
Wetlands evolve too.
Exactly.
yeah. And there was work on the site, which may have contributed to the changes.
So you worked on the site, you disturbed the flow, and you have created a little isolated.
That's right.
Congratulations.
We have some people who might be able to help out when they do replication.
Yeah,
You
so,
have to touch.
yeah, so that one's gonna be interesting.
Right. How about the MVP? Like,
Did you want to talk about that? MVP planning grant? You can put it off.
Yeah, well, there's a, MVP program there's grants available to basically update our MVP plan for the town, and eventually, all towns are gonna have this updated plan in order to be able to apply for what's called an action grant. You know, you build something, you do something. I think the deadline's kind of short, like it's in April. Never remember exactly what. And we tried to talk with Joe. I wrote the application for the original funding grant. We didn't have a planner at the time. But I don't know what fits in with town's priorities. It bothers me that the MVP program just hasn't really been activated in this town. Any extent, any serious extent.
There's grant money involved.
Yeah, you know, on the other hand, there is some good things happening, like this culvert project is great.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that you could use and could have an MVP grant for.
Right.
Help. Surveying.
No, it's coming from a different grant though.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that theoretically.
Theoretically, okay.
You could have applied, the MVP program, probably got it easily for college. I personally think we should apply for a grant. Right here for town hall to see. To the extent that the ground floor of this building is vulnerable to town hall brook. If town hall brook gets plugged up, happens to our records that we're looking.
Oh.
You know, and the rest of this.
There was flooding, I think it was more from the toilets, but there was flooding a few months ago.
I think it would be an easy grant too. And it could be two parts. One is to do an analysis. Have someone get like analysis and second part would be plans of flood the building if necessary. Review that culvert has to be increased in size. That'd be a potential action grant, and you can still apply for those. If there comes a time, if we don't go through this second planning phase, that won't be able to apply for an action. I think the town needs a working group for MVP because it just hasn't, you know, been on planners' radar or.
Yeah.
how about the resolution?
So I spoke with Mike. Mike's not spending much time in the field now. There's a couple of guys that do the work. So I spoke to the young man that worked over here. basically, you said if you had to prioritize anything, it would be at the dam, the pond leveler at the dam. And, he said it's working, but he said the wells tend to break over time, and if they do, when the beaver can get in, they will plug it up. I'm not a big fan of fixing something that isn't broken, but I think I'd like to look at it before we spend the money on it. And he also talked about they're doing different things with the culverts now, protecting the culverts. A lot of times now they're actually pulling it away and they're leaving a gap, so, turtles and critters can get in without going through the fencing. And he even said the beavers sometimes go around it and don't block it up. And they're doing some other testing with looking at different things when it comes time to replace some of those. Because I mentioned about the beaver that you mentioned to me caught in there, and he said, it's unusual, but yeah, it can happen. You get a small beaver trying to go through a small hole and you can have a problem. But he said it's very unusual. And these new things they're doing eliminates that very thing. They can get past the protective fencing around the culvert without having to go through it. So it was an interesting conversation, but I'm not ready to go spend money on replacing that. I'd like to look at it myself, and I think maybe I will a little later. I'll just get on, put on my waders and take a walk in there and take a look at it. But I told them it's limited resources. We don't have the option to fix one in it. So.
Right.
So if you don't mind waiting, I'll wait for the spring it opens up and I'll take a look at it. If it doesn't need to be replaced, then I don't see any reason to replace it.
That's right. Quite much more, actually.
Right. I just, it's a lot of money.
I see you, Marcella.
Yeah, I have a question for Tom. If we don't do the work now, is it possible it will cost more down the road to do it if it needs to be done later?
Well, inflation, I mean, sure, that's a real.
Well, aside from inflation, really, it's like, will it deteriorate to where it needs to be a bigger job than it would be?
Oh,
okay.
No, it would be the same. It'll be the same. Their cost gone up over the years that we've used them, but I think it won't cost us more if we wait till failure. The only way I think it would cost more maybe if Field and the Beavers plugged it up, then maybe we'd have to buy some more piping, but that's like the cheap part of it. That plastic piping, relatively speaking, isn't expensive. Most of the expense is in the labor. So that's,
thank you.
So I mean, if the commission wants to replace it, we can replace it. It's just my opinion. It's not a big fan of spending money on things that still work.
Makes sense.
It makes sense to me. Thank you. Okay, now we have open space committee.
Tony Chiavelli, the landowner of the land on Fan Mountain Road, met with the appraiser for a site visit. That's moving along. Expect the appraiser promised it by the end of March, so we expect to see that in the next 2 weeks or so. And then the appraiser that the municipality and also reached out for a site visit. And you're representing the town at this point?
Yes. That's next Tuesday.
That's moving along as well. Did that appraiser give it a date?
There's a date in the contract with Metacom. There's a date. I think it's in April,
Which property is that?
Forest Heights.
So that's where we stand.
Thank you. Let's search it.
We had a meeting this week. Not too much going on. Potential small boardwalk. Maybe making building. Some scouts maybe building.
I talked to her today, actually. So she had thought that she might have to get the supplies, but I told her no, and she's like, oh. So she's gonna see if she can find, instead of just 2, like, find like 4 to 6 kids that help with it. So as long as, I think we would just need someone to kind of supervise them.
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
And we have to just gather up materials.
Yeah, so she's gonna, I told her to, see what she can find and come up with a few dates for us and. It's,
This is, I forget what this is at the Robertson Conservation Restriction. There's no buzz saw all the right where the trail begins. It's a blue one.
There's something to that.
There's a board there.
A board.
A board.
They walk on.
Board.
Problem is when you have a big flood event, the board is underwater. That spot is like 4 feet deep or so.
Oh, boy. Can jump in it.
the boys could jump in.
The material that it's a need. Is that, for funding?
I think, well, right, we need to double check, but we have the decking, I'm sure. I think we have the small things, the stringers.
Okay.
Pretty sure we have this.
Someone already heard.
That's where it's-
I think, we have seen a lot of it. What condition is
As we
it?
see it, so.
So anything else?
The other thing, we're still, Mary and I are trying to get town council to help us out with the bid package for the
I
Robertson.
called them today and left a message
Yeah.
instead of the email from a week and a half ago that he didn't reply to.
It's- Remember here on this one is.
Yeah.
We'll end up losing a small construction suit. So.
The other upshot about talking to the woman about the Boy Scouts is she really wanted to know about a town cleanup day.
Okay.
And Lynn says there is none this year. She couldn't find anyone to take it over.
That answers that question.
Yeah, so we want that on our agenda at some point.
Right. So,
Know exactly what it takes.
Tell people, advertise it, manage the site.
And someone,
sign
like
up.
someone has bag, the DPW provides bags.
That's easy.
Yeah.
We have plenty of bags.
Okay.
No, it's really probably the administering the site where you sign up for a street. I can't remember if she was getting liability waivers too.
I think so.
Yes, that's the hard, that's the tedious part.
And those are April.
Birthday.
Yeah.
April 20. I should know it's my daughter's birthday.
wow.
Which came up after she was.
Can I email you
she was a few
Craig's
years old.
on Chris's email about taking the plot at the garden?
Oh, he wants a plaque.
Yeah.
No, I don't think, if you emailed the garden email, I don't check it every day.
No, I forwarded it to you directly. I thought.
Okay,
But he,
okay, I'll have to look for that.
now is there plots available?
I'm not sure yet. I don't always hear from, I have to harass the old gardeners and say, are you sure? You have 3 days or you lose your plot. Let me know. it's probably, we have at least 5 people on the lottery already without advertising. And I think there's only like 1 or 2 for sure that are open, and the rest are just people who haven't replied, so. But we usually, there's always a few who don't reply, and then I get rid of them.
I will find him. So you can put his name on his.
So, do we have anything else for tonight?
Bill, make sure you give Mary those Hike Upton buttons.
Done.
Thank you.
First thing on my list,
Right.
done.
Yeah, so you want the room.
Now I gotta figure out how to mail it to this guy. He like lives in Milford.
Wow.
Do you need a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, let me think. Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we excited?
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
All right.